Hello and welcome back to the MMA Split podcast. I am, of course, your host Matt, joined as always by presenter Josh, who will
How?
appear just like that. And as always, we are minus Sly, which is almost becoming like a running joke. You know how Jimmy Kimmel had the whole thing about he'd always say that Matt Damon was a guest on the show, and then you get to the end and be like, "Oh, and we don't have time for Matt Damon. I'm afraid we're going to have to bump him." It's almost
No, I
become like
never,
that with Sly.
I never saw that. But I've got Otis trying to jump in here, throwing things at me to make as much noise as possible.
Of course.
He doesn't like it when I work. I work from the office today. He's not okay with me working from the office. He prefers when I work from home. So the idea that I'm going to have an office day and then do a podcast evening, he's doing his fucking nut. He's not happy.
Well, happy or not, as I had a slight hiccup as I was trying to talk there, we've got a lot to talk about because UFC 279 is in the books. As we discussed on our special reshuffle episode of the Pick Show that was released on Saturday, thank you for everybody who watched that. UFC 279 was turned on its head. We had some unexpected fights. As a result, we had some unexpected matchups. Mostly the results we were expecting, although there was one bullshit result with an absolute robbery that we'll be talking about. For the most part, it was a fun card, and I kind of feel like everything worked out in terms of the fight makeup matchups the best way that they could have. I think the original lineup of this card could have looked quite ugly and not been a lot of fun. Lots of talking points to get through. Before we say anything else, please do leave a like on the video if you are enjoying the content. Subscribe if you are not already subscribed. And feel free to comment, even if it's negative. All feedback is appreciated. With all of that out of the way, Josh, straight away, what were your thoughts on the card overall? Did you enjoy it? And how did you feel about the matchups that we got, the arranged matchups in the end?
Um, yeah. So top three fights, yeah, overall pretty good. I mean, we'll concentrate on Nate in a little bit. I wasn't a huge fan of all the posturing and the bullshit. You know, it wasn't like Nick fighting Anderson Silva. You're not trying to bait a counter striker into doing something rash. It's just I don't even see a little bit of Otis there. Overall though, quite happy with it. The crowd fucking sucked. What can you do?
Crowd
And
was a negative.
there was a few maybe sloppy but fun fights. I mean, particularly Barnett Collier. Like I had a lot of fun watching that one. How do you feel about it all?
Oh, we'll get to Barnett Collier. That was the highlight of the card for me. That was as good as this card got for me in terms of entertainment value. Honestly, man, I thought what you said beforehand. I don't know if we talked about this on the podcast or if this was just what you said to me privately in our kind of group chat. As soon as you get last minute changes like this, it's nobody's got a game plan, and it's very difficult to necessarily see the best of everybody. And I felt that that was very prevalent. Having said that, if Nate had actually fought Khamzat in the main event, it would have been an absolute fucking massacre from everything that we saw play out. So I think him fighting Tony, I think Tony not fighting Li Jingliang, even though he ended up losing to Nate, was a godsend as well. I think them getting to have this fun Legends fight, both of them are over the hill. You can see that they're not really relevant at the elite level currently in their current form. And obviously, Nate gets to, make loads of money, walk out with a win in the sub, when his head held high, with the best possible PR moving forward. So, for their point of view, it was good. I didn't think the main event was a high level fight. I agree with you on the antics, but I just thought generally, I thought Tony looked very poor. I mean, weirdly poor considering how good he looked until he got knocked out against Chandler. It just looked like he just wasn't. Nothing that we'd seen work from Tony 5 months ago was even present in this fight, and I found that very bizarre. The only thing he did well was the leg kicks. I got a lot to say about the co-main event and the fight after, so should we save that for when we kind of dive into it and kind of go into this main event a little bit more?
Yeah, for sure, man. Like, and to be honest, for me with Tiny, this totally tracks. This is a guy pushing himself too hard, training too hard, with a body that people were like, it's a miracle. How does he never break down? I don't understand how he keeps doing it. And then one day the wheels did fall off, albeit very bizarrely tripping over a fucking cable at a press conference. But once you get a serious injury like that, if you don't take the time to recover and rest, and I'm casting aspersions here. I'm speculating mostly on the things I've heard Tony say, to be honest. But I just don't believe the guy ever really took the time to rest, because that means taking a lot of time off, and I just don't think he's got it in him. I don't think he's got it in him to take his foot off the pedal. And he's at that age now. He's never going to bounce back. Shit, he hasn't got the time to rest. He's going to do like a Luke Rockhold, take 3 years off. I just don't see it.
Dude, I think you're looking at this the wrong way. I think it's the damage he's taken in these last 5 fights.
Yeah, that doesn't help.
I think that's it, man. It's like you look at him against Pettis, you look at him against Cowboy. That's after the injury, and okay, maybe he's not fully Tony, but I don't think that's really the issue here. I think the problem is that Tony always had flaws, but his chin and his toughness and his resilience and his unorthodoxness and his creativity covered those holes and got him through these situations. And then he had the fight against Justin Gaethje, where he cuts heavily to 155 exactly, twice in the space of 4 weeks, goes into this fight that he doesn't have to, and just takes the mother of all beatings. And I think from then, okay, maybe he didn't get hit a lot against Oliveira, but gets his arm almost ripped off, probably fights with some seriously damaged tendons, doesn't take enough time off, goes into the Dariush fight, gets his knee ripped to pieces, then fights Michael Chandler and is looking brilliant, but then has he's had 2 of the worst types of knockouts you can have. You can have you just stand there and take a whale of a beating, Rory McDonald style, for way too long until you just can't take it anymore. And then he's had the other, you get hit so hard that it's just everything is out and gone and you're out for minutes. And this is 5 months later, and the way he'd react to certain things, it was like there was a mental difference. The way he was like turning away, turning his back. There's no way he's trained to do that. There's no way Tony's ever done that before. Like, I know he would sometimes kind of spin and use that to kind of like throw the elbow as a retreat. But it was like there was like that subconscious thing in his brain was saying, don't take damage, don't get hit.
I don't know, man. Honestly, because I've been there as well. Like, just knee injury after knee injury. And you get to the point where your mind knows everything you should be doing, and your body just can't pull the trigger. You're half a yard behind where you need to be. You're half a second behind making the cut you want to make. I see it as a guy that just, in his head, he thinks, this is what I'm going to do next. And when his body is called upon, it just can't act. It just doesn't do it. I think he is looking for that spinning elbow. I think he is looking for like these weird, crafty attacks. There was just not the same kind of innovative, violent aggression you used to seeing from Ferguson. It was almost like he was trying to fight like round 5 of the RDA fight, just kind of dancing around a little bit. It's just, I think Tony's body is just in a bad way right now, and he's run out of time to let it heal up. The healing should have happened a long time ago. And again, talking out my fucking arse here. I'm not a doctor. I'm not his doctor. But I like talking out my arse.
If this fight happens 3 years ago, I honestly think Tony at 155. I think it's a bad night for Nate, and that shows how much has changed, because Nate, I still think, has declined since 2019 as well. It's just the manner of damage he's taken, the manner of the decline, and there's the other factor, which is that I think, take everything else aside, Tony's damage, mental state, all the rest, I think Tony was always going to struggle with the boxing element, because Nate's not a guy that Tony can just pressure in the same way. That's what Nate does. So I think it was always going to be a matchup where, even in their primes, I think Tony would have won it. But I think Tony would have still struggled with the pressure element, with the boxing element. And I think you would have seen him in Minari roll a little bit more, find ways to go to the ground, be a bit more creative. The old Tony would have thrown a lot more kicks up the middle, deep kicks to the stomach. And we didn't really see that. And in the end, Nate, who had to go through his own bits of difficulty as well, his leg was getting chewed up, but it kind of motivated him to just kind of close the distance and use his hands. And in many ways, we got to see, it was like an old sort of highlight reel. You know, it's like when an old football player has comes off the bench and gives like a 30-minute masterclass, and you get all of these elements of the things that used to make them this world-class player, and it's not quite there in the same way, but just every now and again you can see them present. And I feel like we got this with Nate. We got the vintage boxing, we got the pressure, we got the antics, we got a classically, brilliantly pulled off submission.
Yeah, I mean, it was a shitty takedown attempt, but that was a very smooth guillotine he pulled. I don't know if you can hear this. It's got this little.
Oh, I can. I was wondering what that
this
was.
Little bastard. Otis.
Full disclosure, I thought Kate was just like grinding her nails down or something like that with like a nail file, just like.
No, he knows what he's doing. He understands how to get under my skin. He is a little rascal. As soon as I can pick him up, I'm going to pick him up and we'll have him on camera. But he's playing a little coy. He just wants to make the noise. Yeah. I swear he knows we're recording. There was none of this before I hit record.
Dogs know these things.
Yeah.
Man.
Oh, go on.
I was just going to say, even the way he reacted to the loss, you can tell Tony is not mentally as checked into this as he used to be.
I think that's probably fair. I mean, to be honest, like neither of them were all the way kind of up for it. There was a lot of like lackluster moments. But that's the thing. When Nate was kind of being a little lethargic, I thought, well, the Tony of old wouldn't accept that. He wouldn't concede that kind of gap in action. He would fucking press the pace. Yeah, he definitely would have struggled with Nate's boxing when they were both in their prime. But ultimately, he would have been able to cut Nate up enough, make Nate uncomfortable enough, and definitely do a little bit more in taking it to the ground that it would have been a very, very different fight. This was... this is a Tony that had been practicing for a different... training for a different opponent in the Leech. Nate said, he'd been doing wrestling the whole camp, didn't really do any boxing. So, the UFC understood what they were doing when they put it together. This wasn't a pay-per-view designed to satisfy. It was a pay-per-view designed to sell as many views as they could once the main card fell apart.
True. And listen, it's a nice... Tony gets his main event in front of a crowd and a big payday. Nate gets an ungodly amount of money because his interviews afterwards saying he stopped counting how much money they had to give him to take the fight once it fell through. And he was already being paid an astronomical amount. And he gets to go off. I mean, really, he gets to say he's 2-0 from this weekend. That's the marketing ploy that he gets to going into free agency. And he didn't even close the door on the UFC. He kind of made it sound like, fuck, man, let me go box Jake Paul for 60 million and then I'll come back and fight Conor. Like, he left that on the table. And I certainly don't see him signing for a Bellator. I don't see him doing bare knuckle. I don't see him going PFL. I think it's going to be a couple of boxing matches and then, a one-fight deal for a special fight against McGregor. And then maybe he leaves the door open for maybe I'll do another one-fight deal that interests me. But ball's in his court. He's holding all the cards.
We know he's going to go off and just get really good at doing triathlons. He might just do a Paul Felder. We really don't know. I don't know because I don't think money moves the. I don't think money gets the Diaz brothers going in the same way it does other people.
Yeah, but it helps.
It helps, but the guy's been getting what's his purse? Isn't it like $1 million a fight or $2 million or something? He gets very good money for these big pay-per-views, and he doesn't. From what I see, I don't think he really throws his money away or anything. So he's obviously got a bit of bank behind him if he's going to be doing his own MMA promotion. Fuck knows. I think maybe it's all just sitting in the bank, just generating interest for him. This guy loves the fight game. He loves the regional scene. I wouldn't be surprised if he does everything kind of perfectly and does it really well in terms of the promotion. And when he talks about going out and dominating other sports, I don't know if it necessarily means going out and doing big money things. I don't think Nate Diaz thinks fighting a Paul brother is equating to being successful in boxing as well. I think if he was going to cross over, I think he'd want to box an actual boxer. Because yeah, he's sparred with pro boxers. The guy's kind of got a foot in the door.
I get what you're saying, but I also think he's not an idiot. And the point isn't what he necessarily does. The point is, it's all in his court. He's holding all the cards. He makes the decision. He's not strung by anybody, and he's been able to get out as a free agent from his contract under a situation where what could have been the worst possible PR before you become free is now the best possible PR. So he wins. I even though Tony loses, I still feel he wins because he didn't have to fight the leech. The only problem he's got is if he'd fought the leech, he would have lost. But the argument would have been you should still give Tony an old vet fight that he can be competitive in. But now that he's lost against Nate, it lowers the standing a little bit of where people think he is and what he might get after this.
Yeah. I mean, fuck, I don't know, like a Brian Barberena maybe, but still might be a little bit too much for him. Who knows, though? Like, I am just talking out my ass when I make all my my suspicions, voice my suspicions on this podcast about where Tony's at. Shit, maybe it was just one bad night, and again, changing opponents the day before, it's not easy on anyone.
Doesn't make it easy. I get that. Well, enough about the guys who both won. Let's talk about the people who both lost. Khamzat Chimaev just lost this weekend in terms of popularity, attitude, the UFC's faith in him, his reliability, his mental state to a certain extent. And Kevin Holland got the fucking shit kicked out of him. Or at least that's the narrative. I'm going to say this because no one else is going to, but it's worth being said. He needed to survive one more fucking position, and Khamzat was spent. That motherfucker came out, all or nothing. I am beating you in 3 minutes, or I do not have a fucking plan B. Yeah, and it
same
worked.
Old, same old.
He got him. But there's a lot of people in the division he's in and in the weight class above him at the elite level that will survive those 3 minutes. I think Kevin Holland, on a proper camp preparing for Khamzat, survives those 3 minutes. And the guy is a fucking piece of shit because he does the whole glove touch beforehand and kind of gives Kevin Holland the signal of like, yeah, don't worry, we're going to touch gloves. Goes for a fake glove touch to get Kevin Holland's hand up and then immediately dives in on the takedown as soon as Kevin Holland raises his hand to touch. It's fucking despicable. And I know there's no rules on this, but it just shows what a shit fucking human being is. And if you really were a real gangster, man, I'm real gangster, I'm so fucking tough, you wouldn't need to do this fucking bullshit in order to beat somebody that is not even ranked in the division yet when you are meant to be number 3. You so-called fucking hard man. Okay, that's my rant over.
Yeah.
You can talk.
Holland should have seen that coming, though. Holland should not have let that happen. That's...
Maybe.
I'm not defending what Khamzat did at all, but Holland shouldn't be letting that happen. I was really impressed, though. Let's just look at the positives here. I was really impressed at the way Holland was defending initially and how smoothly Khamzat was able to roll through and follow through and maintain that back position. Jesus Christ, these guys are 6'2", 6'3". They're like fucking flyweights scrambling around there. That was some really high-level scrambling for as long as it lasted. And you're right, if he had been able to loosen up that DAS or just maintain a better position or wait a little longer for the arms to gas so maybe he could roll through one more time, yeah, that could have been a bit of an interesting fight.
The problem is he panicked. He panicked. He was saying so calm, but when he got out of the DAS the first time, he panicked and he just tried to get out of position instead of kind of trying to establish a half or a full guard. And that gave Khamzat the opportunity to regrip it, get back on top and resync it in.
I think he did sense, though, that Khamzat was more or less kind of one step ahead as well. You know, they were both thinking steps ahead, and Khamzat was a little level, if not ahead, but had the benefit of the dominant position. So I think like there were times when he was kind of slow and patient, and then as soon as Khamzat kind of timed it well, you know, he didn't really sell what he was going to do, and then quickly sweep round to kind of like hook the legs, kind of tighten up the DAS. You know, he had Kevin Holland breathing, relaxing, and then all of a sudden he's fighting again. He did a good job of mixing up the pace. It was like fastball, breakable, you know. There were some nice things there tactically.
The other problem is that he made the way he kind of took the pause is like, okay, I've done my initial sprint and now I'm going to try and pace myself. And Holland didn't realize, like, no, 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 no. He is just full focused on just like, it's this round or nothing,
Well, I
no
actually thought
matter
it
what.
was Holland was the one kind of having to react. Holland paused when he got an opportunity to pause, and then when Khamzat changed the pace again, he just had to react, and it was just hard enough to react so quickly because, as much of a dickhead as he is, Chimaev can be pretty fucking smooth on the ground. Well, so I haven't looked it up today. It's always been such a flat out busy fucking day today and yesterday. But did Holland hurt his shoulder in that fight?
I haven't seen it. He may
It
have
looked
done, but
like
I haven't read anything.
his collarbone or his shoulder. He was kind of favouring it a little bit after the fight.
And nothing I've heard of, man. Nothing I've heard of.
Because that would kind of explain, how he was able to kind of get wrapped up a little easier at the end. But, shit, man. All the respect in the world for Kevin Holland. Khamzat Chimaev, yeah, he's a fucking dickhead. I would kind of like to see the Colby fight now, please. I think
I'd like to see the Colby
that's
fight.
what's next.
Colby survives those first 3 minutes 100%. The only fear I've got with Colby is Colby's not used to having people do what he does to them. Even when he's fought Usman, who you would say is the most comparable wrestler,
Yeah,
it was still a situation where,
the same way.
yeah, and also Usman didn't try and take him down in either fight.
No. I'm trying to think. Yeah, Colby's never really fought a guy like Khamzat, but Khamzat's never fought a guy like Colby. He's fought guys that are as good as Colby on the ground, in Dorino, but it's in a different way.
I think Dorino's got a better skill set to fight Chimaev, though, because he's dangerous off his back. Gilbert Burns was able to force Chimaev into a stand-up fight instead of into a grappling match. And my worry with Colby is that Khamzat's going to meet him in the middle, force a grappling match, and it's going to be a case of whether or not Colby can
I don't think it'll be
hold his own or not.
So the same way Dorino had success with the check hook and the overhand right, Khamzat comes in very aggressive. So if you have got power and you counter well, you're going to get his fucking attention. The difference is if you come in over aggressive on Colby, he's just going to double leg right through you. He's just going to put you on your back. Maybe Chimaev can do some damage on his back. But it'd be interesting to see with a guy like Colby on top of him staying busy. It'd be interesting. It'd be fucking interesting. The size difference would be huge as well. There's no way he's missing weight on that one and still getting a fight at the end of it,
Yeah. Also, there's no way he can keep missing weight. You need him. It's like even in the interview afterwards, Joe Rogan's talking to him, and Joe Rogan's being real kind to him. Like, that could have been a much harder interview. But all Joe is trying to say is just like, you need to, like, I get that you don't give a shit, but this could have been a title fight. And obviously, Joe knows that the one thing that Dana White fucking hates more than anything else is guys pulling out last minute of fights for bullshit reasons and guys not making the weight that they said they were going to make, particularly when they headline, because it fucks everything. And Joe's kind of saying to him, it's like, I can't say this, but you have no idea. And I get that you think you're the boy and you've just had a big win, so everyone's going to love you again. You don't understand how fucked off you just made your boss. And you don't understand that, like, you need to be in damage control mode from a PR point. You need to be in fucking tail between your legs contrition mode. And you're standing here saying, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, I guess ultimately the way Khamzat sees it is that he's only got one boss, and that's Kadyrov. And everyone else can kind of go fuck themselves. And it's not the healthiest attitude. And Kadyrov can go fuck himself and all, but...
Kadyrov can definitely go fuck himself.
Yeah, I think the pressure is getting to him. I don't think if he does have a successful career that it's going to be a long one. And ultimately, I don't see how him and Darren Till don't end up fighting somewhere down the line at 185 as well, which I'm going to fucking love seeing. Even if
I think you're right, dude. I think in general, the problem with the Chimaev, it's the same issue with the Conor McGregor. It's too much. That same fire that fuels this ego and this attitude and this aggression will inevitably end up kind of, it's like, it's a flame that burns out too quickly.
Yeah.
It's just you can't, you're not having that measured approach that helps you to kind of like, okay, maybe the process is a bit longer, but you take things a little bit more humbly or in your stride. Everything is built on this momentum and this steam train rolling forward. And again, the problem is, and this is the thing, is that type of fighter, that I bully you and I dominate fighter, mentally, the one time that they do get beaten, when somebody does that to them, it can be a real hard thing for them to get their head around.
Maybe. I mean, the guy has handled adversity. You know, probably none more so than how bad he got COVID, coughing up blood all the time, trying to retire. Chechen dictator comes in and says, "You're not retiring," so you don't retire because he's only got one boss. Yeah, I think the guy can handle adversity. I just don't think the guy can handle the constant pressure of success and media attention.
It's not so much adversity I'm referring to. It's more, I don't know. It's that, you can go through all these difficulties and still believe that no human being can beat you in an octagon. You know what I mean? If that gets taken away from that type of fighter, that can be a very difficult thing to get over.
Yeah.
But listen, that's just, full disclosure, I do not like this guy. I'm not on the Khamzat Chimaev train. I accept that he's super dangerous. I've wanted him to lose every fight that I've seen him in. I don't like the guy, and that sways my opinion.
Yeah.
In
I
many
don't know
different
who I hate
ways.
more, him or Colby. I hate him for different
Yeah.
reasons, but I hate them both for valid
See, I don't
reasons.
I don't hate Colby nearly as much as you do. But I can understand that if you don't like Colby, everything he does only goes to further your dislike of him. And it's very much that's the case with me with Chimaev.
To a degree. With Colby, I can separate the artist from the art. There are some stupid fucking things he says where I'm like, it's fucking fine, he's selling a fight. But it's the fakeness, how much of a little bitch he really is deep down. And then the dichotomy of it, where he's such a fucking lights out fighter. I'm like, if you just, I know that it means he would have been cut, he would have been fighting in a different organisation and then coming back or staying at a different organisation for bigger money. But, he would have taken a longer, harder road than he did. Not that he took an easy road, but it would have been even harder and even longer to get to title shots than he experienced. I understand how he justifies it in his own mind. For me, though, I'm like, if you just shut the fuck up and fight, you would be every hardcore fan's favourite fighter. No fucking doubt. No room for discussion. You would be the underground GOAT. You would be the Eddie Alvarez of Eddie Alvarez's. And instead, you would choose this path. It's on you. Do what you want. I understand. I don't fucking like it.
Also, it's the one issue I've always had, and I know that so many people have said this is confirmed 100%. But if you're telling me that they wanted to cut Colby Covington the fight before he fought Damian Maia, like, how come Sean Brady's not getting cut, Bilal Muhammad's not getting cut? There's a lot of guys with that style. Why was it just Colby that was the wrestler that they didn't want?
Two things. I think losing to a guy like Wally Alves, who was talented but ultimately didn't really go anywhere. And secondly, the money. I think Colby Covington was on more money then than Bilal Muhammad is on now. He is definitely was on more money than Sean Brady's on right now. And when they started churning these divisions, bringing in the Contender Series contracts, getting rid of anyone on big money that wasn't on a win streak, they also understood that to maintain good competitive rankings, particularly in welterweight, which was kind of an aging division at the time. You had Robbie Lawler, Carlos Condit, Damian Maia, later on Ben Askren, and even fucking Usman, Masvidal, they're not young, so it was important to maintain some young talent there.
Yeah, I get you.
And I think too much of it was kind of being like swayed by fandom. I think the Fertitas gave Dana White a lot more autonomy. than he has now. I might be wrong on that. That's my hunch.
Okay.
Yeah, because he's always hated grapplers that don't finish. He's really just hated wrestlers. He hates wrestlers. You build a sport where wrestling is the most important base, and it's like the one thing you hate the most about it. It's kind of weird.
It's because most casuals find it boring. Dana's aware of this. There is logic to it, but it's still fucked up. We've talked a lot about these top two fights, so let's run through these next ones a bit quicker. But we do need to talk about the Leech and D-Rod. Josh, did you actually have D-Rod winning this?
I had in my picks, yes. When I watched the fight,
No.
Yeah, honestly, I thought the Leech was gonna wrestle a lot more, but he didn't need to. The head movement kind of nullified D-Rod's jab for the most part. And every time he countered him, it just stopped D-Rod from being able to come forward and do what D-Rod does. Which is fair enough. Like, there's no point belligerently getting knocked out a la fucking... oh, my days. Sean Strickland. A la Sean Strickland. Yeah, there's no point just marching forward to get knocked out so you can try and feel like you're a tough man. D-Rod kind of made the adjustments he needed to. He was kind of fighting, I thought, a little from... I thought he was fighting from behind and struggling to gain ground in those later rounds, but judges saw it differently. It was a close fight. Wasn't a robbery, in my opinion. Close fight. But I was fucking surprised when they raised D-Rod's hand. I was kind of surprised that there was a split decision, to be honest. I
thought you could say the only argument for me was if it was 30-27 or 29-28.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Close rounds. But I had all 3 rounds going to the Leech. Close rounds, but all of them going to him.
He landed more shots, and he landed more significant shots. The only thing D-Rod really landed is the jab, and it's like, okay, I get it. He's got a really nice jab. There's no wind-up. It just pops out. It's really hard to read. But that's the start. D-Rod wasn't able to get past the jab. That's the only offense he was able to establish. The Leech was landing loads of good stuff. I really thought this was a terrific performance from the Leech, and I thought to not give him the result, and after everything that's happened to him this week, he's the guy, didn't get to show off his suit at the press conference, got bumped from fighting Tony in the co-main event to fighting at a 10-pound weight disadvantage in the feature fight, and he still looked fantastic, and they take the decision away from him. It's just like, come on, man.
Yeah. D-Rod did officially outstrike him, but the Leech landed all of the heavier shots. I think if you try and cut up the 20 hardest shots that were landed in that fight, more than 15 of them were thrown by the Leech. Like, in my opinion.
It's also look at D-Rod's face when that third round ends. He's got the face of a guy that's like, his coaches aren't happy, he's not happy. It's all in the body language, man. I thought this was bullshit, but it was a good fight. And this is where we can talk about the crowd, because for the crowd to not respect, I mean, in many ways, I thought even in the main event, I didn't like the fact that Tony didn't get the kind of love that he should have got. That's a fight where they both should have been cheered out like crazy. This fight, for people to boo when these guys have had to take big fucking L's before the fight's even started. Okay, one of them is at a major disadvantage, and it's last minute. They're both dangerous guys. They're both guys that are impossible to finish. I mean, neither of them's ever been knocked out. One of them's never been finished. The only time the Leech has ever been finished is a choke by Khamzat. So it's like, what do you expect? They're gonna on a one-day game plan go, right, let's just go knock this guy out that never really seems to get hurt. So what the fuck do you expect is gonna happen?
I fucking hope he got 30% of Chimaev's paycheck.
The Leech.
Yeah. I mean, officially, did Chimaev get docked any of his past there for missing weight? Because he should.
It was
he should
officially
lose 30%,
a catch weight,
if not more, and he should go to the fucking Leech.
He lost more than 30% because he would have had pay-per-view points, and they would have taken that away from him once he became the co-main event. So he would have got his show and his win, whatever that is, which is still probably good money.
And then minus 30, give it to our boy Li Jingliang.
Should have gone to the Leech.
And, the guy got fucked because beating Tony, which I firmly believe he would have done on the night.
100%.
Big scalp, big feather in his cap, great momentum moving forward. and obviously having a win, not a loss, then kind of getting fucked. We believe. I don't think it's a robbery, but we do feel like he got fucked on the cards there. Um, Having all the limelight from the weekend, go on some big mouthy cunt that missed weight and can't mind his P's and Q's. Just it's a long flight back.
There's a lot.
Is he still living in China? Because I know he does his training
No,
camps down in Coconut Creek, but I thought he was still living in China and coming
he's
over for the
been.
camps.
He has not seen his family in a really long time. He's been staying in America, which he finds difficult because he does not speak very good English. So it's very difficult to do all the daily life stuff.
We can attest to that.
He does that consistently because he wants to be available for the big fights and be giving it 100% because he knows it's towards the end of his career. And it makes it so much sadder. It's just like, I don't want to talk about this anymore because it's fucking tragic.
Well, he looked fucking great. D-Rod didn't look that bad at all.
He was still good.
It was a really shit situation to be put in, and I can't believe the fucking crowd.
It's so disrespectful, man. And do you know what it's the problem with Vegas, dude? They're spoiled for fights. They don't show up to the prelims. You get great fights that do not have the crowds that they deserve to have present for those cards. And people behave like this because they've paid a lot. They've paid an astronomical amount for the ticket. It's in Vegas. They're drunk as fuck. And there's this expectation of, oh, I haven't been entertained every single minute for the last 3 hours. I will boo.
Arseholes.
There
wasn't a lot of gap in between fights either. Everything was settled. It was just all momentum. Almost felt like a European fight night in the way that it was just like good fight, great fight, good fight, good fight, great fight. Shit, that all happened within an hour. Like, and just pumping them out. Vegas shit the bed hard on that one.
They did. Pressing for time, let's talk about the first ever up liver kick knockout in UFC history.
That was beautiful.
This was weird, man. I got to be honest. I was so fucking tired. So Saturday morning, I wake up at like 7:30 or something like that. Stay up for the whole goddamn UFC. The one moment where I was really starting to like fall asleep with my eyes open in my chair was around this fight. So when
you thought
the
it was
kick
a low
lands,
blow, yeah?
no, I just didn't believe that. I just thought I'd missed something. I thought I'd seen something and fallen asleep, and then 2 minutes had passed, and then I'm conscious again as she's lying on the ground and the fight's over. It's weird, dude. But I'll tell you what, I mean, technically, if you can generate enough force to knock somebody out with a head kick from that position, you can generate enough force to liver hit somebody. Yeah. In principle.
It wasn't went for and got though. It was a wild kick. It was a nice kick. It was a bit of a fluky land. Macy was down immediately. I've got to be honest, the way she fell with her hand between her legs, I did initially think that maybe it was a low blow and she was going to, not let it go. She was going to be like, right, we need a pause in the action. As soon as Herzog waved it off, I was like, DQ? And then I realised. It was a beautiful liver shot, though.
She's got a susceptibility to the body, Macy Chiasson. I can't remember which fight it was.
Oh, we all do.
She's
comes to liver shots, we all do. It's that Matt Brown line. Yeah, I hadn't warmed up my liver yet. Like, you can't. And in that position, honestly, even if you were to run it back and put her in the exact same position, I'd be like, be more mindful of getting caught on the chin with that up kick. It's very hard to catch the liver from here.
It's a freak, isn't it? It's a 1 in a million. Absolute 1 in a million. But hey, good win for Aldana. Pulled that one out.
Yeah,
gets to be in the history books
either. So,
and I tell you what, I know that the argument for next bantamweight title challenger for Amanda is Ketlen Vieira. Aldana's got a win over Ketlen.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's not many left. So it's basically Ketlen and her. And then I think Amanda can officially retire and say, I have beaten everyone in this division.
Oh, hey, as well, it's one of 3 upkick knockouts, right?
Yeah.
So I'm trying to remember the other two, Nico Price. And Tony Ferguson, did he do it in the Ultimate Fighter or was it the finale?
I don't know who the third one is, man.
I think it might have been Ferguson against Ramsey Nijem. I can't remember if that was the finale that he got the up kick knockout.
It wasn't the finale.
Ah,
That was a
fuck it, it
right
was in the
hand.
house then. Who's the
I
other
don't know
one?
who the other one is. Because the Nico Price has also got a hammer
Yeah,
fist off
hammer
his
fist
back
from the
knockout.
bottom. Yeah, yeah.
Don't fuck with Nico Price off his back, man.
Hybrid for a reason.
Either way, Aldana's in the history books. She marches on. Let's talk about Johnny Walker, who I've got to say, it's a really good win for him. I was impressed. It was a good suplex, good back take. Kutalaba, he looks a bit small. When they make him fight Span and Johnny Walker and all of these fucking tall people, you do look at him and think, just like, man, are you sure you can't cut down to middleweight? I
What's the
think you'd
thing?
have a better time.
If he did reinvent himself as a cardio machine with this, mixing him with level change kind of approach, because that's the thing. Once he took him down, Johnny Walker's the one scoring all the points. As soon as he took him down from when Johnny Walker got back up again, he hadn't really scored anything, and Johnny Walker had basically won that round so far, which is something that they would have had a hard time scoring before. It's very, very clear in the in the criteria now in the wording. You know, ah, Kutalaba needed to keep it on the feet and try and get a good shot in on a lanky Walker that really can't eat heavy hits.
Yeah.
But I don't think he necessarily did the wrong thing in trying to mix it up and trying to stick with that more intelligent kind of game plan. Try and demonstrate a higher fight IQ. It was a nice back take. It was a pretty sweet choke. He was defending very well for a while. And Johnny persisted. Kind of happy for him. The guy's been mixing things up a little bit. I was reading that article on how he has an allergy to THC, and the CBD that he'd been taking was too high in THC, and then he had a particular flare up when he was out on holiday. Ended up his fiance basically like slipping him some diazepam as well. Just Johnny's been through the ringer. He's still switched on. He's at a good camp at SBG with John Kavanagh. I don't know. And yeah, you're right, man. I would love to see Kutalaba if he could shift a bit of weight or shift a bit of muscle and be more of a lean, mean cardio fighting machine down to 185. It'd be interesting because I'm sure most
I
of that
think
power would stay with him. It'd really just be his ability to take a shot that's going to dwindle, which you already don't have a lot of faith in.
no. I do think, though, you touched on something else that I think is a good point. It's the same issue that we see with Romanov at heavyweight, where there's so many things that Kutalaba does well with his wrestling, but he doesn't quite have that MMA approach to wrestling yet,
Yeah.
where he's looking to do damage and finish a fight. It's a lot of energy expenditure, holding guys, mounting guys, getting on top, dragging them back down, and he kind of gets his that's quite a wearing out process, and a lot of the time he's not really sort of the guys that do it best are using it to set up chokes, to set up ground and pounds, to set up finishing positions, and that's what he's missing at the moment. So like you
It
say,
is a
for
new
Johnny,
wrinkle though. So, the guy came in with kind of top tier power and just an over aggressive style, and he's evolved and he's adapted and he's been able to incorporate the takedowns and the top control a lot more effectively than I thought he probably would have been able to. He's brought on a lot quite quickly, given that from a lot of his performances, I didn't think he was the sharpest tool. Where
that's
can he go
reasonable.
from here? Who knows? But I've seen enough of Kutalaba now to never really count him out or underestimate him. And I imagine he probably will stay at 205. This is very much just you and me talking about how good would he be at 185. It's interesting. I don't see the guy doing it. He's going to stay at 205. He has been fighting some of the taller light heavyweights though. So
I know, but it's light heavyweight. They're going to be there. That's the problem.
there are a lot more around his height as well though. They're not all like 6'3", 6'4", 6'5". What's Walker 6'6"? So
Yeah.
who knows? Who knows?
Okay. Press for time. We're going to literally just do a quick sentence on these prelim fights because we spent way too long on the main card. Julian Erosa, this delighted me because even though I didn't pick him to win, I fucking love GCJ and I thought he was outstanding.
Yeah, he
absolutely
was
outstanding.
Phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal.
But
that would do had his moments.
Better.
Didn't look that bad in places, but Erosa just understood when to take it to the ground. Understood when to make it uncomfortable on the feet. This was vintage Juicy J. This is as good as it gets for a roast. Actually, that's unfair. I feel
It's the
like this
best
guy
he's
can
worked.
really shine. You put him up against a
It's,
bigger name and he has a night like this, you're going to fucking see fireworks. We're big
he's
fans for a
five.
reason.
He's 5-1 in his last 6 fights. He's putting it together. He hasn't got long. He's never going to get up to that elite level, but he can have some good fights. He'll beat some good people, and he's dangerous everywhere. Love GCJ. Jason Almeida, Turkauj. Listen, when you've only had 8 fights, undefeated doesn't mean the same thing. And Jelton Almeida's a beast. This was like a precursor to Kevin Holland, really, against Chimaev.
Yeah, kind of make it look easy. Sure, nice replacement. Be interested to see Turkalj fight again, but yeah, we all picked Almeida for a reason, and he made light work of him.
True. I did not pick Dennis Tiolin, which I should have done because he looked really good, and Jamie Pickett looked pretty shit.
Yeah, I same old Pickett. You know, there are moments
Shit's
where he was
harsh.
able to
Shit's
control
harsh.
the
That's
fight.
not fair.
Yeah, he was
Shit's not fair.
controlling the
That's
fight
not
in
fair.
places where Tiolin was able to make it ugly, dirty, scrappy. It was a bit of a mismatch. So
Yeah, he needs space, Jamie Pickett, and he wasn't given space.
all right, I think we need more than a sentence on this next one.
Best fight of the card. Best fight of the card.
Yeah,
Chris Barnett. How do you not fucking love this guy? Had to make the decision to take his wife off life support 30 hours before his last fight, and it explains so much about him not quite looking like himself when he was fighting Martin Bidet. And he had to face some adversity in this one because I thought Jake Collier started really well, but Chris survived it. He hung in there. He was landing his own shots, and really, he just outlasted him, man. I mean, for a fucking guy who's 5'9" and weighs 300 pounds out of camp, he showed way better cardio than Jake, who, I mean, that failed takedown attempt that set up the finishing sequence for Barnett. I mean, it was literally just fell over, basically, in tiredness after he failed that takedown.
yeah, it was one sloppy moment. He kind of gassed himself out a little bit, I think, trying to get Barnett out of there. Yeah, yeah, Barnett did well, and it was just once he was sat on him, it was such a high, poor position to be in. Mount any other weight class that happens, you're getting bucked off. They're going to bridge, they're going to buck you, you're losing that position. Barnett didn't. And fucking
Hey,
fair play. Fair play.
for a
Coming
heavyweight,
back from the damage he took in that first round, this was a fun, beautiful moment in sports.
hey, Fat Man's got some cardio as well.
Fat Man's got some moves. My boy can dance.
Yeah, this was good, man, and he's such a great personality, dude. He's such a fun, after the post fight, it's everything that you love about the sport,
Yeah,
and
I was
he's
trying to
clearly
do my
been through a
Chris
tough
Barnett
time.
dance today. I won a couple games of table football. I was very obnoxious about it both times. What can you do? I'd
Gotta
lost
love the
something
guy.
like 50 times in a row to this guy at work. And then I finally beat him like last week, having not won for a while. And then today I won 2 games, so I was being a fucking prick about it. Yeah, what can I say?
Run through these. Norma Dumont. I got to say, I liked a little bit of what Danielle Wolf did, but you can tell she's just fresh to MMA. She's still at boxing ranges and understandings. Was worried about being taken down, so wasn't big committing with her right hand. She's just not ready. That's the
No,
problem. Norma
yeah,
Dumont's probably going to fight Amanda next.
yeah. If she was in her 20s or something, like mid to late 20s, I'd be like, yeah, there's something to work with here. But I think she's like 38. It's just, it's not going to happen. This is just Dana White just arbitrarily throwing bodies in at featherweight for. I don't
Listen,
even know why.
she had a long, extensive boxing record, so she's trying to give this a go. I just don't think she's going to improve what she needs to quickly enough. Enough said. Alatenge Gailey beat Chad and Heliga. Those are 2 hard names to say.
That's similar.
I didn't. My link was terrible for these fights, to be honest. So I was on my way back, so I didn't really see too much of this one. But it did seem like Alateng was winning.
Beat the brakes off him early, and Heliga just wouldn't go away. And to be honest, was really fucking turning up the heat in the final round. But just, it's one of those things where sometimes you're watching a 3-round prelim, and you're like, wouldn't it be cool if they put 5-round fights in the prelim sometimes, just because? I mean, if we're gonna have a women's featherweight division, why not? Why not? If you can miss weight by £10 and then get a different opponent, why not? If they can move events because John Jones has fucking picograms, why not? So, yeah, every now and again, throw him a bone. Let's have a 5-round prelim fight. I could go for that.
Okay. I didn't see the first two fights because I was still out on my way back. But good for Elise Reed. Didn't
Yeah, Martinez didn't look that bad, but Reed just wasn't fucking about. Every chance she got, she fucking hurt her. And what was the first one? Lanez Darian Weeks. Yeah, not a bad fight. Yeah, split decision, but I think I agree with it. Not just the fact that it's a split decision, but the fact that the nod went to Lanez. Just fair play. Canada did okay. How many? Obviously, Anne Halligan lost. Is it just?
Dude, I can't even remember my picks. I have no interest or care. I lost.
Oh, maybe
I'm
it's
in
just
bottom.
The two Canucks.
And in fact, that reminds me.
Do you want to do it on this episode or the next?
I can do it on either one. Maybe the next one, because I figured you might want to clip it for its own little segment to release, just so people
seemed
can
like
see
a pretty
my humiliation.
mean thing to do. Also,
I'm actually okay with it.
I like the idea that people should have to watch the whole episode to get to it. So I think we should do it at the end of the. Well, we're not doing a picks, but at the end of the preview that we're going to record after this.
Okay. I'm also happy to do it. I feel like we should do it at the start.
All right. I hope people.
I don't want to feel. I don't want it. I don't want it to feel like I'm hiding it away at the back.
Okay, let me ask you this: how well do you think you're going to do it?
I'm going to do it pretty damn well.
Okay, let's keep it at the start then. That's fine. Yeah.
Nice. That's the card. There is some news. It's sad news. Elias Theodorou has unfortunately passed away from liver cancer. Yeah, he's had liver cancer. If you get liver cancer, is usually The problem with liver cancer is you never get liver cancer first. You get something else, and then it spreads to your liver. At which point they tell you you're fucked. So it was always going to be a battle. But thoughts with him? That's very sad news, indeed.
Man, I was fucking thinking about him the other day as well. Weirdly, just when you have people like talking shit like, I could be a UFC fighter, and I'm like, only if you're willing to put in the dedication that someone like Elias Theodorou did. Because if you watch his fights, you're like, you're not an athlete. You're not really not even a UFC. You're not even really a professional caliber MMA fighter. But the way you put your game plans together, the way you execute, and just how fearless and how much of a fucking beast you are, and also just how much of a decent human being he is. And that one time he was a ring boy for Invicta. My fucking guy. That's tragic.
I don't want to end on completely sad news, but our thoughts are with him. But even sadder than that, obviously the Queen has passed away. We already discussed this, not in the nicest way, but it is sad that she's passed away. But they have now cancelled Arsenal's Thursday night Europa League game.
It's a World Cup year. What do you do? We got it in winter.
How much are they going to take away? And they're probably going to cancel the games this weekend as well. So that sucks. But on a happy note, both of our NFL teams are 1-0 after week one. The Eagles flew in to the Arctic crime-laden streets of Detroit, took down the Lions in a very closely contested game, but I think the Lions might actually be a good team this year. And the Dolphins, despite having an offensive-minded coach, put on a defensive smashing of the Patriots. 3 takeaways of the football, forced fumble and an interception of Mac Jones, their quarterback, and massive plays made from our 7th round, not our undrafted free agent rookie, Kadu, who forced a fumble, made some game-saving blocks, huge tackles, was absolutely outstanding. Offense wasn't quite there, but hey, it's the Patriots. Patriots are a motherfucker to play. It's a good defense. You take what you can get.
Yeah, man. I mean, we won, and it was a good first half, but and AJ Brown is a fucking superstar.
Some of the
Real.
catches, I saw some of the catches he made, dude. It's just like anywhere in the fucking like 6 yard vicinity of him, and he's gonna find a way to get that ball.
He did have that first one, so like Jalen Hurts did start 0-4 on completions, but like some of them were kind of bad drops, or not bad, but like you probably should have caught him. And there was a couple where they just had defenders tight on him. But yeah, there was the first target to AJ Brown. I don't know how much the defender actually got on it. I thought maybe he should have been able to bring that one in. But then after that, fucking lights out. But my question is, where the fuck was the defense? Because people have been covering for Jonathan Gannon a little bit, but I was never a huge fan. And we got fucking gouged. Like, if it wasn't for Jared Goff, shit in the bed a little
DeAndre Swift. DeAndre Swift does some bad things to your defense, man.
He was almost double digits per carry. He was like 9 point something average. It's ridiculous.
Well, it could be worse. You could be the 49ers who lost to the Bears and to a quarterback that won a game with a less than 50% pass completion.
Yeah, well, I mean, the Lions were almost looking that way. I think Jared Goff finished just right on the line. I think he was right at 500, but that game was a lot closer.
Sounds about his ability. Well, we got through week 2 emerges. Who are you playing week 2? We've got Ravens away. Fucking horrible game.
Oh, shit, that's a good point. Actually, I can't think we have got this week. Let's have a look.
While he's doing that, I'm also going to talk about news that's going to make him happy. Have you heard about Dak Prescott?
Nah. Well, yeah, I've heard of him. He's a bit shit, isn't he? We've got the Vikings, and it's the fucking Monday night game. We've got too many like primetime games that I'm going to miss.
Well, if that sucks, but what will make you feel better is that he needs surgery on his throwing hand.
I feel bad for Dak, but to be honest, it's one of those things where I just feel like the Cowboys just aren't going to be very fucking good this year anyway. It didn't really matter. We should be winning the NFC East, and then what I would like is with our soft schedule to get enough wins that we get at least one home game in the playoffs and maybe even a first round bye, but we'll see.
Well, if you win your division, you're guaranteed at least one home game.
Yeah, but what I would like is for that to be straight through to the divisional round. I would like to skip the wild card. I would like to finish off second seed. And I know it's a tough ask, but we really have got a soft
second
schedule.
The second seed doesn't get a wild card.
No. Oh yeah, they've changed it now, haven't they? Yeah. Oh, my head's still stuck back in the day. All right. Either way.
On that note,
either way, home games, please.
Guys, thanks for watching. Like the video. Look out for the preview show of UFC Vegas Sandhagen versus Song dropping very soon after this video. And as always, bye Dave, bye Laurie, bye Tree.
Bye Laurie, bye Dave.